Hey guys, welcome back. So in the previous video, we were working on the lap timer and race timer checking to see if the player has beaten the best lap time and the best race time. We got that functionality in place so that we could actually achieve those values. We displayed it through debug code for now, which is perfectly fine. In this video, what we're going to do is actually work on the save game system so we can save those times as the times to beat. So let's go ahead and continue. We're going to hop down to the content browser. We're going to go to the blueprints folder and find our My Save Game blueprint. I'm going to double click and open it up. Once we have it open, this blueprint is going to be used to save all of the things that we want to keep track of. So if you are creating another type of game and you wanted to create a save game system, the process that we're about to take is going to be pretty much close to the same. So you could take this and apply that to future games. Any of the information that you would want to save would be contained within this blueprint. So we're going to get started by creating the variables that we want to save. And there are only going to be two. So let's go to the My Blueprint panel and the variables section and click the Add a Variable button. And the first variable that we want to save is going to be called Saved Best Lap. As you guessed it, the next variable that we want to create is called Saved Best Time. And we're going to change both of these from booleans to floats because that would probably be good. So let's change these to float values because that's what our times are being recorded as. So let's change these to floats. And that is all we are going to do in this blueprint. Now, again, if you are creating a different type of game and you wanted to save more types of information, you could add those here as variables such as score or experience or items, etc. Those could all be added as variables here in future games. So with this, let's compile and save. And let's close out this blueprint. Now to actually work on our save game system, we're going to need to hop to our My Player Controller blueprint, as that's where we're doing our save game functionality. So let's go down to the Blueprints folder and open up the My Player Controller blueprint. Double click and open it up. And we are currently defaulted to the save game check, as I think that was the last thing we were doing inside this blueprint. If you are not here, go ahead and go to the My Blueprint panel and open up the Save Game Check function by double-clicking on it. It should take you to this graph because we're going to begin working on our system here. So I'm going to hold Alt and left-click on this pin here to disconnect these two. Going to drag a selection box around these four nodes here and move them down out of the way for a second because we're going to come back to them in a moment. So the first thing that we're going to do as part of our Save Game Check function is actually check, do we have a save game? So I'm going to right click on the graph and search for, does a save game exist? And as soon as I start typing, there is a function called does save game exist? It's a pretty handy node. Let's go ahead and select that. So does save game exist? Going to connect it up like so. It's asking for some information. It's asking for the slot name and user index. We don't necessarily need to worry about, for our purposes, the user index. If you were doing multiplayer, you probably would there. But in our purposes, user index of 0 is fine. The slot name, however, we created a variable for that. So I'm going to go down to our variable section and find our save slot here. I'm just going to left click and drag that and plug that in to our save slot name, like so. On our does our save game exist here has a return value of a boolean. So we can hold B and left click to create a branch and connect that up, like so. So, does a save game exist? Yes, it does, or no, it doesn't. If it doesn't, all we're going to do is connect our false to those network of nodes that we created a moment ago, or in the previous video, where we are setting the new best lap time and best race time back to their default values. And once we've done that, we're going to call our save game, our save the game function, so that we save those as the default best values. So we're going to call save the game. So let's drag that in like so and connect it up. And if we've determined once we got to this point that the save game does exist, all we're going to do is call load the game. So let's drag that in and connect that up. That's all we need to do for checking. We'll come back and update the save game and load game in a moment. Let's add a comment around these. Hit C, and it says checks save slot to see if save game exists. If true, load the game. If let's do a comment there. If false, save the default values, like so. And that's all we need to do for checking. So let's actually work on saving the game now. So I'm going to double click on this node here, the save the game function. Double click, that'll take us to our save the game graph. So let's go ahead and start working on that. And for this, what we're going to do, we're going to right click on the graph and we're going to search for create save game object. So create a save game object. Going to connect it up. It's asking for the save game class. That's going to be our my save game blueprint that we created. So let's go ahead and select it. So my save game blueprint. And once we've created it, I'm going to right click on this pin and promote it to a variable called the save game reference. Well, maybe not save game reference. Nope, because I already have one, because I did one in between videos. So let me go ahead and delete that. In between videos, I was experimenting. Let's go ahead and delete that. And I created it already, so that's what we want to promote it to. So I'm just going to drag mine in and reconnect it. So it should look like this, and it should look like this in the my blueprint panel there. So with our save the game reference completed there, next thing we can do is drag off of it and say cast to my save game. This will allow us to access those two variables that we created in between not in between videos, but a moment ago that we created, so that we can access those variables. And those two variables that we created were, if we drag off this pin, set save best lap. So we want to set the save best lap inside of our my save game. We're going to drag off of this and say set saved best time. So we're setting those two values here. So let's connect all these up. And we want to set those to whatever our best lap and our best race times are. So we're going to take our best lap, left click and drag and drop that on, like so. Then we're going to take our best race time here and drag and drop, like so. So we are taking whatever those are and applying those to our my save game. Now, once we've done that, we actually need to save it. So we're going to right click on the graph and say save game to slot. So save game. Let's connect this up. It's asking for the save game object, the thing we want to save to. We're going to take our save game reference. So I'm going to control or just drag it in and drop it on like so. It's asking for the slot name. Let's use our save slot. So let's drag it. Drop it in. And that's all we need to do. Our game will be saved at this point. So let's actually just add a comment around this. Let's see, and this is just going to say saves the game to the save slot. So again, creating the save game object, getting a reference, casting to my save game so that we can access those variables inside of it. We're then setting those variables to equal whatever our best lap and best race times are. We're then resaving it to the save game slot that we specified. So we are done with save the game. Let's actually hop over to the load the game now. It's going to be somewhat similar. So I'm going to go to my blueprint panel and load up the load the game now. And for the load the game, let's go ahead and let's right click on the graph and say load game. And we have our function load the game, but we want load the game from slot. So go ahead and select that. Load the game from slot. And the slot name is going to be our save slot. So let's find our variable, save slot. Just drag that into the graph like so. Once we've done so, we need to drag off of this now and say cast to my save game. So cast to my save game so that we can get those variables inside of my save game. And then all we're going to do is drag off of this here and say get saved best lap. I'm going to drag off of it again and get the other variable that we saved. So get saved best time. So we have both of those. And then inside of this blueprint, we have our best lap and best race times. We're now going to set these to equal whatever is inside of our save game. So we're going to take our best lap time here, just going to left click and drag and drop that on top of the best lap time like so. connect it up, and connect it up. And we're going to do the same thing for the best times. We're going to take best race time, drag and drop on top, like so. And connect it up. That's it. That's all we need to do for our load game. So we're getting the save slot, we're loading it, casting to my save game so that we can get the variables inside of it. From those variables, we're then passing them through to our new best lap and best race times. So with that, let's add a comment around all of these. Hit C and says loads the game from my save game to the best lap and best race times. So I think we are good. That is all we need to do. So let's compile and save because our load the game script is done. So we're almost ready to test. There's one more thing that we need to do. So let's go back to the event graph. So let's go over to the My Blueprint event graph. And what we're going to do, let's zoom out. Let's actually move towards the race and lap timer section here. Underneath all of this, we want to provide a way for the player to reset the best lap and best race times back to their default values. So let's go ahead and right click in the graph, somewhere in the graph, and let's add an R key event. So the letter R. So whenever R is pressed, we're going to fire off some script. And what we're going to say here is from the My Blueprint panel, let's scroll down and let's find our race start here. So our race start variable, hold Control and drag that into the graph. Then we're going to hold B and left click to create a branch. And we don't want to plug this directly in. We want to say, has the race not started? So we're going to search for not, the not Boolean. And that's what we're going to use for our condition. If I can plug it in. And what we're going to say is if the race has not started, then we're going to allow the user to reset the best times. We don't want them to be able to reset it at any time, anytime they want. So only when they're on the splash screen, when the race hasn't started yet, we'll allow them to reset the times. So let's connect our pressed up like so. And for this, what we're going to need to do is go over and grab some variables. So let's grab our default best lap, hold Control and drag it in. Let's take our default best race, hold Control, drag it in. Let's take our best lap time, just going to left click and drag and drop that on top so it sets it. Then going to take the default, or not default, the best race time, left click and drag and drop that on top so it sets it like so. Then going to hook all of these up so it has a nice little chain going like so. Last thing we're going to do for this is actually resave this. So we're going to call our save the game function. So just left click, drag that in, hook that up. And then finally, after all this is done, we need to reinitialize our text. So let's grab our text, the init text function, drag that in, connect it up like so. So once we have our HUD in place and all of our variables assigned to be displayed on the HUD, we'll need to reinitialize our text so that it gets updated. So that's why we're calling this here. So let's add a comment around all of this. Let's hit C, and we'll say reset to default best times if the race has not started. Okay. One more thing that we're going to do inside the My Player controller here, we need a way to actually display our best lap time and best race time on screen. So we're going to create a debug portion of script here. So I'm going to right click, search for a P key event, so the letter P. So whenever P is pressed, what we're going to do, let's go over to the My Variables section, or My Blueprint in the Variables section. Scroll down and let's get our best time text and our best lap text. We're going to hold Alt and drag each of these in. So our best time and our best lap, like so. Then going to scroll up and get the best lap time and best race time values. So I'm going to hold Control and drag those in. So best lap time and best race time. So we have the values, we have the text. We need to convert our values into a text format. Going to use our handy time to text node, like so. It's going to create it to a text format for us. So our best lap. Gets plugged into our best lap, actually, not our best times. Let me move that one over. So whenever P is pressed, we'll just get our best lap, convert it. I'm going to select this node, hit Control-C and Control-V to paste it. I'm going to hook it up, just like so. And this is just going to be a debug function, so I'm just going to leave it just like this. Last thing that we need to do is right-click and search for a print text. So go ahead and print text node. I'm going to need 2 of these, so I'm going to hit Control-C and Control-V to paste it. And connect these up, like so. Move them over just a little bit. And then over in my blueprint panel, let's take our best lap, just drag and drop that onto the in pin, like so. And do the same thing for the best time. So this will actually print it on screen now. So I'm going to add a comment around all of this. I'm going to hit C and say debug only, delete me later. There we go. So we are done. Let's compile and save. One final thing we need to do before we can test, we have, if we go to our My Blueprint panel, we have this save slot variable, which I've currently set to save slot ll_savegame as the default value. Yours may be empty. We need to set this here. So go ahead and set this as ll_savegame because inside of our tracker blueprint, we haven't passed that variable over yet. So let's actually do that. Let's go to the the content browser. Let's open up our tracker and let's go to the apply user settings section. We actually didn't apply this yet. So let's go ahead and apply that. So what we're going to do, drag off of our controller reference here and say set save slot. So we're going to set save slot. While we're at it, let's drag off of the controller reference again and say set name of map. So these are 2 user variables that the user can define inside of our tracker. Going to move these over just a little bit. Connect this up like so. Connect this up like so. So these will now get passed through to our My Player Controller blueprint, which we probably should have done earlier, but we are doing it now. So let's go to our custom settings in the My Blueprint panel. Let's take the save game name that the user specifies, which is set to ll_savegame here. And let's take that and drag that on to our save slot, like so. And let's take our name of map while we're at it and plug that in, like so. So let's compile and save and let's test our system out. Back in our level. If we play in our level now and we hit P, up in the upper left-hand corner, we should see 2 minutes and 1 second, or excuse me, 2 minutes and 1 minute. Those are corresponding to our default best lap and default best times here. So if we play, actually, let me stop. Let's set our max laps to 1 so you don't have to watch me drive around twice. We're only going to drive around once and we should get a new best lap and a new best race time. So let's play in the editor, hit P, 2 minutes and 1 minute for the lap. Should easily be able to beat both of those. So I'm going to drive around, go off the jump. Don't flip me. Oh, of course this is going to happen right now. I am so terrible. Let's go around these because I don't want to flip again. Let's go over the little bump here. We should still easily beat those times. I missed the checkpoint. Maybe we won't easily beat those times. Oh, man. The joys of demoing. Let's go ahead and keep going. I think we'll beat them. Let's go over the loop and let's go around, avoiding those and through. We totally killed it. 44 seconds. That's going to kill our best overall race time because our race time was set to 2 minutes. If I hit P now, since we've restarted the map, there is our best overall race time of 44 seconds and our best lap time of 44 seconds because we've set it to only 1 lap. If I hit escape and I play back in the editor, we should see those. Fingers crossed. Let's hit P. And there they are. So our save system is working. We could set max laps to 2 or 3 or change any of these values and kind of play with those and see how they work. But our save system is working. That is it. We are done with the save system. That's actually going to do it for this video as well. We're going to pause here. We're going to pick it back up in the next video where we start working on in our HUD and start to clean up everything because our system is currently working. We are in the home stretch now, so thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.